Billionaire CEO helps an injured cleaner, then discovers she gave birth to his secret twins. The ice pack slipped from his trembling hands and hit the floor. Neither of them moved to pick it up. Pregnant, he repeated, the word barely a whisper. Twins, a boy and a girl. They turned 5 in March. Their names are Zaire and Nova. And Jevonte, they have your eyes. Both of them. Every single time they look at me, I see you. His entire body went rigid. 5 years. You kept my children from me for 5 years. You were engaged 3 months after you promised me forever. You were building a life with someone else while I was vomiting every morning and trying to figure out how to survive. So yes, I kept them from you. I kept them safe. Safe from what exactly? From their own father. From heartbreak. From being the inconvenient children of a woman who was never good enough for your world. From growing up feeling like they were a mistake you had to tolerate rather than a blessing you wanted. Talia, I would never have made them feel that way. You made me feel that way. Every single day of silence, every unanswered call, every moment I waited for you to choose me, and you chose her instead. So do not stand there and tell me what you would or would not have done, because I stopped believing your words 5 years ago. Now, let me tell you how we got here. Let me tell you about the woman who mopped floors at midnight in a building owned by the man who shattered her heart. The woman who hid a secret worth more than his entire billion-dollar empire. His own children. Have you ever carried a secret so heavy it changed the way you walked through the world? Have you ever loved someone so completely that losing them rewired your entire understanding of trust? Have you ever had to choose between protecting your heart and giving your children something you were terrified to give them? A father. If any of that resonates with you, then this story is going to hit different. Because tonight, at exactly 11:47 in the evening, on the 32nd floor of Sterling Financial Headquarters, a broken mop bucket wheel set into motion a collision that would change everything. For Talia Monroe, for Jevonte Sterling, and for the 2 5-year-old children caught in the middle of a love story that never got its proper ending. Before we dive into this incredible journey, if you believe in second chances and the messy, complicated work of redemption, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Trust me, you are going to want to see how this story ends. Now let me take you back to the beginning. Talia Monroe had been invisible for 8 months. That was the goal. That was the entire point. She worked the night shift at Sterling Financial Headquarters. 11 at night until 7 in the morning. Different building access than the daytime employees. Different elevator bank. Different entrance entirely. She moved through those marble hallways like a ghost, cleaning conference rooms where decisions worth millions were made, emptying trash cans beside desks that cost more than her monthly rent, polishing windows that overlooked a city she used to dream about conquering. She had conquered it once, in a different life, when she was 22 and foolish enough to believe that love could bridge any gap. When she thought a scholarship student who worked catering shifts at society parties could somehow belong in the world of old money and older expectations. That dream died 5 years ago. What rose from its ashes was something harder, something fiercer, something that had no room for fairy tales or second chances. By day, Talia was a mother, devoted, exhausted, barely surviving but surviving nonetheless. She had 2 5-year-old twins who needed everything she had and then some. Zaire, who was obsessed with building things and asked questions about physics that she could not answer. Nova, who painted dragons in every color but especially purple, and had recently started asking why she did not have a daddy like the other kids at school. That question haunted Talia more than she would ever admit. By night, she was nobody. Just another cleaner in a fluorescent vest, pushing a mop bucket through endless corridors, praying she would never run into the man whose name was etched into the building's foundation. The man whose face appeared on magazine covers and business news segments. The man who had no idea he had fathered twins because she had disappeared before he could reject them the way he rejected her. Jevonte Sterling, CEO of Sterling Financial, billionaire, the man who promised her forever and then chose someone else 3 months later. Talia had taken the job knowing the risk. The pay was good, the health benefits were better, and the night shift meant she would never have to see him. 8 months of successfully avoiding the man who still appeared in her dreams more often than she wanted to admit. But fate has a way of laughing at careful plans. November 17th, 11:47 in the evening. The supply closet on the 32nd floor. Talia yanked her mop bucket over the threshold, fighting with a wheel that had been sticking for weeks. Maintenance kept promising to fix it. Maintenance kept not fixing it. She pulled harder than she should have. The wheel caught, then released suddenly, and the momentum sent her stumbling backward into a stack of industrial cleaning supplies. Bottles crashed. Mop heads scattered. And Talia went down hard, her right ankle twisting beneath her at an angle that made her cry out before she could stop herself. The pain was immediate and severe. She lay there among the fallen supplies, staring up at the fluorescent lights, her mind already racing through the consequences. She could not work like this, could not stand for 8 hours on a damaged ankle, could not afford the medical bills, could not miss a paycheck, could not. The spiral of panic was so consuming that she almost did not hear the footsteps approaching. Expensive footsteps, the kind that came from leather shoes that cost more than her weekly grocery budget. "Hello." A voice cut through her panic, deep, authoritative, achingly familiar even after 5 years. "Is someone hurt?" No, not him, not now, not like this. Talia tried to sit up, tried to compose herself into something that did not look like a cleaning woman collapsed among her own supplies. But her ankle screamed in protest and she fell back with a gasp. Then he was there, crouching beside her in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than 3 months of her rent, his face a mask of genuine concern that did not match the image she had constructed of him over the years. "Do not move," he said. "What happened? Are you hurt?" And then he really looked at her face, and everything on his features rearranged into something between recognition and absolute disbelief. Talia, her name in his mouth after 5 years of silence. It should not have affected her. She had spent half a decade building walls specifically designed to keep this man out. But hearing him say her name like that, like he was seeing a ghost, like she was something precious he thought he had lost forever, it cracked something inside her she thought she had sealed shut permanently. "Mr. Sterling," she forced her voice into professional neutrality. "I'm fine. Just a minor accident. I will clean this up and continue my shift. You are not fine. Your ankle is already swelling." He pulled out his phone. "I am calling an ambulance." "No." The word came out sharper than she intended. "Please, I cannot afford. I mean, it is not necessary. I just need to rest it for a moment." She watched him process that statement, watched him hear what she was really saying. That the woman he used to take to 5-star restaurants now worried about ambulance bills. That the woman he used to promise the world now cleaned his floors at midnight. "You work here," he said slowly, his voice strange, hollow. "You work here, and I did not know. Night shift custodial staff does not exactly cross paths with the CEO." Talia tried again to sit up, and this time she managed it, though the effort cost her. Different building access, different hours, different world. The weight of those last 2 words hung between them. Different world. The world he had chosen when he chose Monica Hartwell over her. The world she had fled when she realized she would never belong in it. "Let me help you." His voice softened in a way she remembered from a different time. "At least let me get you to the medical suite downstairs. They have ice and bandages. And if it needs more than that, I will personally ensure it is covered. I do not need your charity. It is not charity. It is basic human decency." He stood and extended his hand. "Talia, please. I know how things ended between us. I know you have every reason to want nothing from me. But you are hurt on my property during work hours, and I am not going to leave you sitting on the floor because you are too proud to accept help." The speech was so perfectly Jevonte. Reasonable, logical, impossible to argue with. The same voice that had once convinced her he loved her. The same voice that had promised to call her the morning after his father's funeral and then disappeared from her life completely. She should say no. She should tell him to call someone else, anyone else, and let her handle this on her own the way she had handled everything else for 5 years. But her ankle was throbbing, and her pride, however fierce, could not outweigh practical necessity. She took his hand. The medical suite was small but well equipped, designed for workplace injuries far more common than a cleaner falling over her own supplies. Talia sat on the examination table while Jevonte moved through the space with surprising efficiency, locating ice packs and compression bandages. She watched him work, trying to reconcile this capable present version of him with the man who had vanished from her life without explanation. "You trained as an emergency responder," she said quietly. "In college. I forgot about that." He paused with the ice pack in his hands. "You remember that?" I remember everything, Talia. She used his own words deliberately, watching his face. Every moment of those 2 years. Something flickered across his expression. Pain. Regret. Something she could not quite name. It does not look broken, he said, gently examining her ankle with hands that knew their way around injuries. Probably a bad sprain. You should still see a doctor tomorrow, though. I will be fine. You keep saying that. He wrapped the ice pack in a cloth and pressed it against her ankle. But I remember when you broke your wrist senior year of college and insisted you were fine then too. Turned out you had fractured it in 3 places. You remember that. The question escaped before she could stop it. Vulnerable in a way she had not intended. Revealing more than she wanted to reveal. Jevonte's hands stilled on her ankle. When he looked up, his expression held something she could not quite name. Something that looked dangerously like the affection she remembered from 5 years ago. I remember everything, Talia. Every moment of those 2 years. The silence that followed was thick with things neither of them seemed ready to say. 5 years of questions. 5 years of anger. 5 years of carefully constructed walls that were suddenly threatening to crumble. Then you remember leaving. The words came out before she could stop them. You remember your father's funeral, and the night after, and how you said you would call me in the morning. You remember the morning that never came, and the weeks of silence, and the engagement announcement in the society pages 3 months later. Jevonte's face went pale. That is not how it was supposed to happen, but it is how it happened. Talia's voice was steady now, the pain in her ankle secondary to the older, deeper ache she had carried for 5 years. You chose someone else, someone from your world, your social circle, your father's carefully planned future. And I understood. I really did. I was the scholarship student who worked catering shifts at the parties you attended. I was never going to fit into your life the way Monica Hartwell did. I did not choose Monica, my mother. He stopped, ran a hand through his hair in a gesture so familiar it made her chest ache. That is not an excuse. I am not trying to make excuses. I am just saying that what you think happened is not the full story. Then tell me the full story. It is complicated. Adults always say things are complicated when they do not want to explain. The words came out automatically, borrowed from a source Jevonte could not possibly know about. From a 5-year-old boy who had inherited his mother's directness and his father's eyes. Jevonte looked at her strangely. That sounds like something a child would say. Talia's blood ran cold. Her heart stopped. Her carefully constructed world began to crack at the seams. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out automatically, still processing his words, and found a text from her sister on the screen. Kids are asking for you. How much longer? Jevonte's eyes caught the message before she could angle the screen away. Kids, he said, his voice suddenly sharp with something she could not identify. You have kids. My niece and nephew. Talia lied automatically, the cover story smooth from years of practice. I watch them sometimes when my sister works late. But something in her voice must have betrayed her, because Jevonte's expression shifted. He was calculating now, connecting dots she had kept deliberately separate for 5 years. Talia. His voice was careful, measured. When did you leave New York after everything fell apart? Why does that matter? When? She could lie. She had been lying for 5 years, and she was exceptional at it. But something about being here, injured and vulnerable in the building owned by the man she had loved and lost, made the lies feel heavier than usual. 3 weeks after your engagement announcement, she said it quietly, without emotion. I found out I was pregnant the day the papers ran the story. 2 weeks later, I was on a bus to Philadelphia. The ice pack slipped from Jevonte's hands. It landed on the floor with a soft thud, but neither of them moved to pick it up. Pregnant. He repeated the word like he did not understand its meaning, like she was speaking a language he had never learned. Twins. Talia's voice was steady now. The secret she had carried for half a decade finally released into the air between them. A boy and a girl. They turned 5 in March. Their names are Zaire and Nova. They have your eyes, Jevonte. Both of them. Every single time they look at me, I see you. He sank into a chair like his legs would not hold him anymore. His hands were trembling. His face had gone completely pale. 5 years of absence hitting him all at once like a freight train he never saw coming. Why? His voice cracked on the single word. Why did you not tell me? 5 years, Talia. 5 years. You want the honest answer or the polite one? The honest one. You were engaged. Talia's voice carried an edge sharp enough to cut. Your mother had made it abundantly clear that I was not welcome in your world. I was 23 years old, terrified out of my mind, completely alone, and I thought keeping them away from all of that was protecting them. Protecting them from what exactly? From me, from heartbreak, from being the inconvenient children of a woman who never belonged, from growing up feeling like they were a mistake their father had to tolerate rather than a blessing he actually wanted. She paused, let the weight of her words settle. I watched what your family did to people they considered beneath them, Jevonte. I was not going to let my children experience that rejection. I would never have rejected them. You rejected me. Her voice rose despite her efforts to control it. Without a word, without a single explanation, I called you 47 times in 2 weeks. I left voicemails begging you to just tell me what I had done wrong. And you married Monica Hartwell in a ceremony that made the cover of 3 magazines. Jevonte's head dropped into his hands. For a long moment, he did not speak. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red-rimmed, his composure completely shattered. I never received those calls. His voice was barely above a whisper. I never heard those voicemails. That is impossible. I called your phone directly. I left messages. I sent emails. My mother. He said the words like they were poison. After my father's funeral, she took control of everything. My phone, my schedule, my entire life. She saw you as a threat to the family legacy, to the plans my father had made before he died. She intercepted everything, deleted your messages, blocked your number, convinced me that you had moved on, that you wanted nothing to do with me or my grief. Talia stared at him, processing this new information, trying to reconcile it with 5 years of certainty about what had happened. By the time I realized what she had done, Jevonte continued, you had vanished. I tried to find you, hired investigators, searched for months, but you had changed your name, covered your tracks, disappeared completely. I thought. He paused, swallowed hard. I thought you did not want to be found. Maybe I did not, and maybe I deserved that. But Talia, if I had known, if I had any idea that you were pregnant, that I had children out there in the world, I would have torn down every wall my mother built. I would have found you no matter what it took. Pretty words. She said it flatly, but I've heard your pretty words before. They did not mean much when you were building a life with someone else. That marriage lasted 14 months. Monica was sleeping with my CFO before the honeymoon ended. I have been divorced for 3 years, and still you did not reach out. I did not know you wanted me to. He leaned forward, his eyes searching her face. I thought I had lost you forever. I thought that was my punishment for not being strong enough to fight for you when it mattered. Before we continue with the moment that changes everything, I need to speak directly to you. We are at the turning point of this story, the moment where 2 people have to decide whether the past will define them forever or whether something new is possible. If you have ever had to make a choice like that, if you have ever stood at the crossroads between protection and possibility, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what you would do in Talia's position. Would you give him a second chance? Would you trust him with your children? Hit that like button if you believe in the messy, complicated work of forgiveness. And share this video with someone who needs to hear that redemption is possible. Now let us find out what happens when a father meets the children he never knew existed. 3 weeks passed after that night in the medical suite. Talia's ankle healed. She returned to work at a different location because facing that building every night had become impossible. And every single day, Jevonte texted. He never pushed, never demanded. He simply showed up in her phone with small messages that proved he was thinking about her. About them, about the children he desperately wanted to know. He sent articles about childhood development and educational resources, then apologized for overstepping. He asked questions about Zaire and Nova without demanding to meet them. He was trying, visibly and consistently, to prove something without words alone. When Talia finally agreed to let him meet the twins, she set strict parameters. Public location, she told him over the phone. 2-hour maximum. And I reserve the right to end this at any moment if it seems like it is upsetting them. Whatever you need. His voice was thick with gratitude. Whatever it takes, I will be there. They chose a children's science museum on a Saturday afternoon. Talia arrived first, the twins bouncing with excitement at the unexpected outing. They had no idea what was coming. She had not told them yet. Could not find the words to explain something she barely understood herself. Jevonte arrived 15 minutes early. She watched him from across the lobby, pacing near the entrance, checking his phone repeatedly, wearing expensive casual clothes that looked wrong on him, like he had tried too hard to appear approachable. When he spotted them walking toward him, his whole face transformed. The nervous energy melted into something softer, something that looked terrifyingly like hope. "Hi," he said it awkwardly, hands shoved in his pockets like he did not know what to do with them. "Hi," Talia replied. Then she crouched down to the twins' level. "Zaire, Nova, this is someone very important I want you to meet." Both children looked up at the tall man with curious eyes, evaluating him the way children do, without pretense or social convention. "This is Jevonte," Talia continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "He is your father." The words hung in the air. Zaire's expression shifted into something analytical. Nova's eyes went wide with wonder. "Our daddy?" Nova asked slowly. "The one we never met?" "Yes, baby. The one who did not know you existed until recently. But he very much wants to know you now." Zaire stepped forward, his gaze direct and assessing. "Mama says we have your eyes." "Do we?" Jevonte crouched down to their level. His voice thick with emotion he was visibly fighting to control. "You do, and your intelligence. I can see it already just from the way you look at the world. I am building a bridge," Zaire announced, "for my engineering project. Mama does not understand load-bearing walls. Do you?" "Actually, I do." Jevonte's eyes lit up. "I studied structural engineering before I went into business." "Really?" Zaire's skepticism melted into enthusiasm. "Can you explain cantilevers? I have been trying to figure them out for weeks." And just like that, they were off. Father and son walking toward the physics exhibit, already deep in conversation about architectural concepts that Talia could not follow. She watched them go with a complicated tangle of emotions she could not quite name. "Mama." Nova tugged at her hand, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. "He seems nice. Is he staying this time? That is what we are figuring out, baby. But I hope so." The museum visit stretched from 2 hours to 4. Zaire and Jevonte spent an hour at the engineering exhibits alone, discussing structural integrity and foundation stress with the kind of intensity that left Talia and Nova exchanging amused glances. "Boys," Nova whispered, "they are boring sometimes." "Sometimes," Talia agreed. "But it is nice that they found each other." It was nice, watching Jevonte engage with her son on his level, not talking down or oversimplifying, treating a 5-year-old like his interests were valid and worth discussing seriously. This was the Jevonte she had fallen in love with 6 years ago, the one who paid attention, who made people feel seen, who brought genuine curiosity to every interaction. She had forgotten he could be like this. Or maybe she had forced herself to forget, because remembering made the betrayal hurt worse. When they finally left the museum, both children were exhausted and happy. They hugged Jevonte goodbye without hesitation. "When will we see you again?" Zaire asked. "Can you come to my birthday party?" Nova added. "It is going to have purple dragons." Jevonte looked to Talia for permission. She nodded slowly, something shifting inside her that she was not quite ready to examine. "I would love that," he said. "Both things. I will be there whenever you want me." The months that followed were a study in consistency. Jevonte visited every weekend, then twice a week. Then he stopped leaving Philadelphia entirely. He restructured his company, delegated responsibilities to his executive team, opened a satellite office 20 minutes from Talia's apartment, all so he could be present, all so he could show up in ways that words alone could never prove. He attended school plays and parent-teacher conferences. He coached Zaire's Little League team despite knowing nothing about baseball beyond the basic rules. He learned to braid Nova's hair through YouTube tutorials and patient practice. He made mistakes, too many gifts, too much enthusiasm, occasional failures to understand boundaries, but he apologized for each one and adjusted his approach without defensiveness. Slowly, impossibly, Talia's walls began to crack. It started small. She caught herself smiling at something he said during a video call. She found herself looking forward to his visits, not just for the twins, but because his presence had become comfortable, familiar in a way that did not hurt anymore. Dinner at her house became a weekly tradition, Jevonte cooking while she supervised homework, both of them pretending this was completely normal. The children thriving under the attention of two parents who were learning how to coexist. One evening, 8 months after that first meeting at the museum, Talia found herself standing in the kitchen with Jevonte after the twins had gone to bed. They were washing dishes in comfortable silence, moving around each other with the easy familiarity of people who had done this countless times before. "I have been thinking," she said quietly, "about what you said when you first moved here, about wanting more than just co-parenting." Jevonte set down the dish he was drying, his full attention on her. And I think I am ready to try, not rushing into anything, not ignoring the past, but trying to see if there is something still there, something worth building again." The smile that spread across his face was like watching sunrise after an endless night. "Really? But Jevonte, you need to understand something. I am not the same person I was 5 years ago. I am harder, more guarded, less willing to ignore red flags or accept less than I deserve. If we do this and you hurt me again, there will not be another chance. Not ever. I understand, and I promise you, I will not waste this opportunity. I spent 5 years learning what losing you cost me. I'm not going to make the same mistakes. Words are easy. Then let me show you. Every day, every choice, until you believe it." She let him hold her hand, let herself lean into possibilities she had closed off for half a decade. Let hope take root for the first time since she had fled New York with nothing but a broken heart and 2 heartbeats growing inside her. 1 year later, they stood together at Nova's 6th birthday party. Purple dragons covered every surface. A cake shaped like a castle sat in the center of the table. Zaire was explaining the structural impossibility of the castle's towers to anyone who would listen. Their apartment, carefully chosen, mutually decided, was full of people who had become family. Jevonte's arm rested around Talia's waist, casual, comfortable, like it had always belonged there. "Mama," Nova tugged at her sleeve. "Are you happy now? Really happy? Not just okay?" Talia looked around, at her daughter accepting her dragon-themed cake with ceremonial seriousness, at her son debating cantilevers with his father, at the life she had built from nothing that had somehow become everything. "Yes, baby," she said, and meant it completely. "I am really happy." Jevonte met her eyes across the room, the same quiet joy reflected in his expression. Some stories do not end with fairy tales. They end with something harder, something earned. 2 people who chose to build trust from rubble, brick by patient brick, until the structure could hold weight again. Their story was not perfect. It was messy and difficult and required constant work, but it was real. And real, Talia had learned, was better than perfect. It was everything. Talia Monroe spent 5 years running from a man who broke her heart. She built an empire of survival, small, hard, but entirely her own. She raised 2 incredible children alone, worked jobs that exhausted her, sacrificed everything so they could have more. And then fate intervened. A broken mop bucket wheel, an injured ankle, a billionaire who found his past waiting for him in the medical suite of his own building. Jevonte Sterling made the worst mistake of his life when he let someone else control his future. He lost the woman he loved, missed 5 years of his children's lives, built an empire that left him completely alone. But here is what this story teaches us. Our mistakes do not have to be permanent. The people we were do not have to define who we become. Redemption is not given. It is earned, day by day, choice by choice, through showing up even when it is hard. Talia learned that walls can protect you, but they can also imprison you. Jevonte learned that success without love is just expensive loneliness. And together, they learned that broken things can be rebuilt, if both people are willing to do the work. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances and the hard work of becoming better, hit that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that survival is possible, that our worst moments do not have to define our entire story. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in Talia's position? Would you have given him a second chance? I read every single comment, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Until next time, this is Mr. Dalton Storyhouse reminding you that every ending is really just a new beginning.